Hello students, today let's start with new prose, that is In Sayadri Hills, a lesson in humility by Sudha Murthy. Here in this prose you will find that the writer has spoken mainly about the humility of tribals. Let's see the description about the writer given here first. Sudha Murthy, a social work, inspires many of her writings. Although a computer scientist and engineer by profession, she is keenly involved in initiatives such as setting up of orphanages, computer labs, libraries in rural areas of Karnataka. She is also part of the public health care programs launched under the aegis of Gates Foundation. Here you will come to know, though she is a computer scientist and an engineer by profession, but she is really a good social worker. She has really inspired many people by her work, like she has given, you can say, set up computer labs, she has started many orphanages, she has set up many libraries in rural areas of Karnataka, and she is also the part of the public health care programs launched under the aegis here. Murthy is a pioneer of computer education in schools in Karnataka. She has also acted in Marathi and Kannada films. Her well-known work include How I Taught My Grandmother to Read and Other Stories, The Old Man and His God, Discovering the Spirit of India, The Magic Drum and Other Favorite Stories, The Bird with Golden Wings, Stories of Wit and Magic, The Day I Stopped Drinking Milk, Life Stories from Here and There, and Grandma's Bag of Stories. Now let's see what this extract is about. The present piece in Sayadri Hills, a lesson in humility, has been taken from the collection Wise and Otherwise, a salute of life. It is a touching account of Murthy's interaction with the tribal people living in the dense forest of Karnataka. Here, this write-up, this extract is mainly the interaction of the writer Sudha Murthy with the tribal people who live in the dense forest of Karnataka. The story records the changes in the vision of the tribal folk who all are set to join the computer revolution, which has not only helped India to grow in tandem with the changing times but has also enhanced the employability of our youth. Here you will come to know these people who are really deprived with the modern education facilities and all in the dense forest here, but still they are really very eager and they are all set to join the computer revolution. They really want to join the world in this computer revolution. The conclusion of the piece is the lesson on human nature. Here at the end you will come to know how she tells you or what she wants to tell you about the tribal people, that how humble they are. See here, let's start with the writer. I love traveling, be it a tiny village, a drought-hit area, a deserted mountain top, a dense forest, or even a monument in Egypt or China. I enjoy going to different places. Here what Sudha Murthy is trying to tell us, that she loves traveling. It can be a small just to travel to a small village, a drought-hit area, a deserted mountain top, or a dense forest, or a monument in Egypt or China, anywhere. But the thing is what, she just wants to travel. She enjoys going and you can say visiting different places. On one occasion, she is just sharing with us one incident which has taken place in one of her traveling trips. I went to the Sayadri Hills, a densely forested region in Karnataka. It had been drizzling the whole day. Now she's saying once she had gone to Sayadri Hills, where you can say it is a densely forested region in Karnataka, and that time it was drizzling the whole day. The forests are difficult to difficult to negotiate during the rains, especially during the presence of those dreaded leeches. Now it is here she wants to tell us that during the rainy season, The forests are really, you can say, difficult to negotiate, to find out the way through the forest. You can say when it's drizzling and it is thick forest, so anyone, whoever is traveling in the forest during those days, it is difficult for the person to find out the way for himself here. And here she wants to say, especially due to the presence of those dreaded leeches. Now what are leeches here? Leeches, you can say, an animal which lives in water, and they survive or they feed themselves by attaching themselves to the other animals and sucking their blood. So they are very dreadful animals, you can say here. So the writer is saying, especially due to the presence of those leeches. Those leeches are found in the forest during rainy season. One ought to visit them during the rainy season to get most out of them. Means one must, if they want to see those leeches here, they must go during the visit the forest during the rainy season. The mild smell of exotic trees, shrubs and flowers, the chirping of different kinds of birds, the gentle whistle of the unpolluted breeze, these are the joys that can never be experienced in any town or city. We all know due to deforestation here and due to huge buildings in towns and cities, we really can't, you can say, enjoy nature here. So the writer wants to tell us that if you really want to enjoy nature, you have to visit the Sahyadri Hills, the dense forest there. There during the rainy season, you can really feel the mild smell of the exotic trees there, the shrubs there, the flowers there, the birds who are chirping there, the gentle whistle of the, you can say, the birds there, and the unpolluted breeze mainly you can enjoy there. I was there to visit a tribal village school deep in the forest area. Now she has gone to the Sahyadri Hills forest there with a purpose here. And what was the purpose here? She wanted to visit school deep in the forest area. The charitable trust which I am connected wanted to help improve the school. Now in the dense forest, in the remote area, we know what are the conditions of the schools there. So here the charitable trust which she was connected to wanted to improve the condition of the schools in the remote areas, and for that purpose she had gone to visit the school. Thandas, a local group of tribals are delightful. Means Thandas is a, you can say, name of the local group of tribals in that forest area. They were very happy when the writer reached there. Normally there is a headman in each Thanda known as Thandapa. Means the head of you can say, each tribal group is known as what? Thandapa. He is the senior most man of the tribe and is considered the supreme power, almost a living god. Means he is really respected by each and every member of the group here. He is the senior most man of the tribe here, and he has all the power to decide everything regarding the people of his group. And he, you can say, for example, they have given, he was almost like a living god. Means whatever he said, people used to, his group member used to follow him very blindly. All are beholden to him. Means everyone is answerable to him. He practices the customs taught to him in his childhood and everyone follows them. Means whatever the customs were practiced during his childhood, he really teaches them those customs to the member of his group, and every member of his group follows the same. There was a downpour when I reached the village. When writer reached the village, it was raining. The rain, the glistening leaves. Because of the rain, all the mud on the leaves is washed away. So the leaves were glistening, means they were shining. The strong smell of wildflowers made me feel as though I was on a different planet. Means the wildflowers, they were also smelling, the fragrance of the flowers could be felt here. So the writer felt really good there. It was a pleasing atmosphere. So she really felt that she was on a different planet, on a different place. Because in towns and cities, we never feel this kind of atmosphere, the glistening leaves around us, The wildflower smell we could feel and all because of the pollution and all everything. So here the atmosphere was different, so she really felt as if she has gone to a different planet. She was not on the earth. But I never felt like an intruder. Means she never felt that she was like a stranger there. Sorry. Not even when I reached the school after a long walk and every villager stood by staring at me. Means when she reached the school year, what happened? She was really walking to get inside the school there. Each and every villager, they really stood and they were staring her like something unusual, some unknown person, some strange thing they are seeing here. Reaching the school was an adventure in itself. Means it was a dense forest, and going through that forest and reaching the school, so it was like an adventure for the writer. I saw a lady walking with rhythmic grace despite the 3 pots of water balanced on her head. Means here she saw a lady, she was walking with really, she was walking gracefully despite of the 3 pots which were kept on her head. And she was really very nicely balancing those pots and walking here. So that's why the writer is saying here rhythmic grace, walking with rhythmic grace. Means we all know it is really difficult for a person to keep just one pot and walk here on the head here, just to keep one pot and walk. But still here this lady, she had kept 3 pots and she is walking so gracefully. So writer really liked it. I stopped her and asked, which way should I go to reach the school? So she just stopped her and she asked her which way she should go so that she can reach the school. She made an exclamatory sound, stared at me and walked away. Means the lady she might have not understood the language which the writer was speaking. So she just said, what are you saying? And she just walked away. Perhaps she didn't want to talk to a stranger, especially one from a town, or perhaps she didn't understand my language. So here too you can say reasons the writer is giving, that why didn't the lady respond to the writer. She is saying she might have not, she didn't want to speak to the stranger, or you can say she didn't understand the language. I then approached an old man who was weaving a cane basket while humming a folk song. Then she went across a man who was weaving a cane basket and he was humming a folk song. I knelt in front of him and asked in a loud and clear tone, where is the school? Now the first lady didn't reply to the writer. So here she knelt in front of, as this man was sitting and doing the work, so writer had to bend down. So that's why she's saying, I knelt in front of him and asked in a loud and clear tone, where is the school? She asked the same question to this man. Curiosity was written all over his face and he seemed anxious to ask me all kinds of questions, but he didn't. He simply said something in his dialect and indicated direction with his hand. Means when he saw this lady, the writer here, he was really curious to ask something, that who are you, from where you had come, why you had come. All these questions might have come to that man's mind and he wanted to ask the writer. The writer really understood it, but this man, he just kept quiet and he said something in his dialect, in his language of his region, their tribe, and he just indicated the direction with his hand from where to go. The school was an old thatched building, probably built by the tribals themselves. It was a not well built, you can say, school here. It was a thatched building. Probably it was built by the tribals only. It was a primary school. I could see a few children playing outside while others were busy under a shed-like shelter doing something with leaves and straws. Means when the writer reached the school, she saw that some children were playing sorry, and others were sitting in the shed and they were weaving something. They were doing some work with leaves and straws. I walked in and found a small room with 2 chairs, 2 tables and a blackboard with a pot of water beside it. Means when the writer entered in, she found that it was a small room with 2 chairs, 2 tables and a blackboard, and there was a pot of water beside there. There were no electric lights or fans, nothing like that. Instead, a small shutterless opening served as a window. Means there was no shutter also to the window here. This was the only source of ventilation in the room, and that was the only source of ventilation. Only one small window there. It appeared to be the office room, but there was no one there. Means it was supposed to be called as an office room of the school, but there was no one there. I did not find any staff around. There were no staff, no clerks and all, no one. While I was looking for someone, an elderly man walked up to me and asked what I wanted. Means when the writer was looking for someone whom she can speak to, so an elderly man, he just walked up, he was just coming there, and he asked that what she wanted, means what writer wanted, why had she come there. That man asked the writer. I introduced myself and told him that I had come to see what help we could provide the school. Then the writer informed that man that she had come to just see what is the condition of the school and how she can help the school here. His response, however, didn't seem very encouraging. Means whatever that my man has replied, it was not a sort of encouraging, or means you can say he was not really enthusiastic or happy when he saw writer, and when she said that she has come to help them and all. He was nothing, change in his mood was not seen there. I thought I might be able to communicate better if I first put him at ease. So I started asking about his life. Means she thought if she wanted to communicate nicely and make him understand how she could help them nicely, so she should first make him you can say comfortable here. So for that reason, she just tried to ask him general question regarding him, like who was he and from where he had come and what is his name and all, everything, general question she was asking him. It turned out that he was the live-in watchman cum peon of the school. When she had a conversation with that elderly man, she came to know that he was a watchman cum peon of the school. He would double as a tour guide sometime. Means he would also work as a tour guide. Means if anyone comes to inspect the school or to visit the school, he would become a tour guide. He would help the person know there, or you can say tour guide of the village also. You can say if someone comes there, he can help them out how to go about in village, where those places and all. But he was not paid. But he was not a paid employee of either the school or the government. Means he was not paid by the school also or the government also. When he was for the government, he was working as a tour guide, and for the school he was working as a watchman cum peon. But from both the, you can say, places, he was not paid for his work. His grandson was studying in the school free of cost in return for the services which the old man rendered. Means whatever the services he was rendering, he was giving to the school. There for that he was really, you can say, his grandson was working, studying in the school free of cost. He was not, you can say, asked fees there for studying. So for that reason, he was just working there. And in compensation here, what happened? Both grandson and you can say the grandfather, they were there in the school. Means grandfather was working and the grandson was studying. How long had he been living there? Means when the writer asked how long he had been living there. So he said for many years. He lived in a small hut in the courtyard of the school, and he lived in the courtyard of the school only, which was a small hut, you can say. By now his attitude towards me was slightly more encouraging. Means now he had become comfortable to speak with the writer. So I gently turned the conversation to the affairs of the school. So now instead of asking personal question, the writer asked him about the affairs of the school. Means how did the school work here? He said that the state government ran the school. Means it is run by the state government. There were 2 teachers and around 50 students who came from far and near. There was no compulsory uniform. Means he told him everything about the school. He told the writer everything about the school, that there were 2 teachers and 50 students, and who came from far and near around the you can say village. There was no uniform here, compulsory uniform. And the writer is saying, I was impressed by the number of children who attended the school. When he said 50 students attended the school, so she was really impressed by the number. After all, their parents were unschooled themselves and the living condition was harsh. Means their living condition was very poor. Still, so many students were studying in the school, so she was happy to hear this. Yet there was a willingness to educate their children. She was really happy when she heard it. What are the difficulties you face in running the school? Means she asked, what difficulties you all face in running the school? So see what this man replied. The old man didn't say much by the way of reply. He just took me to a cottage nearby and introduced me to the Thandappa, who seemed to be more than 90 years old. He was happy to see me. Means when this question was asked by the writer, this man, he didn't reply anything. He just took the writer to the, you can say, head of their tribe. He is known as Thandappa. He took writer to Thandappa, and this you can say this man, this Thandappa, he was more than 90 years old, and when he saw writer, he was very happy. I asked him the same question. What problems do you face in running the school? So see here, commuting to school was difficult during the rains. Means he said the students are really unable to come to school during the rains. He said, besides the school clothes wouldn't dry in the rainy season. Means as they have only one pair of you can say clothing here, so it is very difficult for them in rainy season, because they cannot, if they get the uniform gets wet, they don't have the other pair to wear during the next day. So for this is one of the difficulty. Second difficulty here, and the simplest of the problem and a familiar one too. During the course of my work, I have listened to many such problems from many such people. Means here the writer is saying here that during the course of work, this problem which the Thandappa had told, that it is difficult to reach the school during the rainy season, and they don't have the the other pair to wear when the first pair gets you can say wet during the rains. So here this tool she is saying it was the familiar reasons which Thandappa gave. After acquiring a fair understanding of the people and their lives, I departed. Means when she got to come to know about the living conditions of the people in that village, she really means she left the place there. She left there. She departed means what? She left the place, not forgetting to thank them for their cooperation. Means she just thanked them the way they helped them to understand the condition, help the writer to understand the condition of the school there. I decided to return with some umbrellas and clothes for the children, and for that thing she decided that in her next visit to the same village, she'll come with some umbrellas and clothes for children. When I went again, it was winter. The rains were over. Now the scene was transformed. It was paradise. Now she's saying the next time, during her next visit to the same village, that time the rains were over. The rainy season was over. Now you can say it was winter season now, and the village seemed to be paradise. It seemed to look like a paradise. So beautiful it was looking. There was no mud, no frogs croaking, birds were cooing, the sky was clear. See how nicely she has described the atmosphere of the village here. Many rare flowers had bloomed. I made the same Thandappa, the writer made the same person here. He recognized me and greeted me with a smile. His eyes seemed to welcome me warmly. Means he was really happy to see writer there. He really nicely welcomed her. Please accept these things which I have brought for children here. Last time I didn't know what to give, I said, handing over a big bag to him. Means here she requested Thandappa to accept the things which she has bought for children, and she also said to him that she really wanted to give them something, but it was her first visit there last time, so she didn't understand what to give. But now she has brought something for the children here. The Thandappa hesitated, means he didn't he just, in the first stage he did not accept the gift here. He hesitated to accept it. I wonder whether he was feeling embarrassed. Means he was not feeling, you can say, he was not really happy to take those gifts. He was feeling very shy to accept those gifts here. I told him, you have not asked for any gift from me. I brought this for myself. So to make him comfortable, the writer said that she has not brought this gift because he has asked. She has brought for herself. She really felt that she should give something to these children. It will help the children during the rains. Please get the clothes stitched according to their size. She's saying it will really help the children during the rainy season here. And she also said that she, make it sure that the clothes are stitched according to the student's size. He walked into his hut without saying a word. Means he didn't utter anything. He just walked inside his hut. What do you want to learn? I asked some children who were standing nearby. Some students were there. So she just asked them randomly that what do you want to learn? No one answered. Not a single child answered. After a lot of persuasion, means after asking them, you can say again requesting them to answer, say something here. A few youngsters came closer. But they were still too shy to talk. The students were they were not at all confident because they had the habit to speak to anyone here, strangers here. No one used to go there. So they were shy to talk to the writer here. So I went on coaxing them, means encouraging them, asking them again and again. Then ultimately one of them said, we have heard about computers, but we have not seen them. So see what this boy has told. He has said, we have heard about computers, but we have not seen computers except on TV. Means where they have seen computers, how they know about computers, they have come to know about the computers on television. We want to learn about computers. What that boy said, we want to learn about computers. Do you have any book about computers that is written in Kannada? See what is the question of that boy. See how eager they are to learn. Though they belong to such remote area, though they don't have those facilities and all, but still this student have that, you can say, interest in them, that they really want to get connected to the modern world here. Having been brought up in a teacher's family and being a teacher myself, I was delighted to hear what these children had to say. Means here she's saying the writer was brought up in teacher's family and she herself was a teacher. So she was really happy to hear this question from these children here. Their ideas were surprisingly fresh and modern. Though they were lacking modern education, though they were lacking modern facilities, but their eagerness or their, you can say, queries, their questions were all related or all same as we have of the children in our modern cities here. See here, despite the fact that they belong to such a backward region, I told them that I would look for such books in Bangalore. She said for sure she will see that she gets some books on computer in Kannada language. If I didn't find any, I promised that I would write a book for them myself. As she was, you can say, a computer engineer, so that's why she's saying that if she doesn't find any book on computer in Kannada language, she herself will write the book for these children here. They seemed pleased and I was extremely happy. They were really happy to hear this from the writer, and writer herself was really happy to see those, you can say, expression of the students here. By that time, the Thandappa had returned from inside his hut. He just came outside his hut here. He held a bottle of red liquid in his hand. He bought one bottle which had red liquid in it. Amma, he said, presenting the bottle to me, we don't know what you like and what you drink at home. He's saying you are from town, so we don't know what you like and what you drink at home. This is a very special drink that we prepare during summer in this forest area. Means he is saying, but this is the liquid which we prepare during the summer season, and it is from our area, forest area. We extract juice we extract juice from a wild red fruit and store it. Means how they have prepared this red liquid. So he is saying we have extract the juice from the red fruit and I have stored it in a bottle, and it is mainly used or they drink it during the summer season. It lasts for at least 2 rainy season here. Nothing is added to the juice here. Means they say they have not added anything to the juice. It is very pure juice. It is good for health, and add some of this juice to a cup of water and stir it before drinking here. You have to just add some of the juice to the cup of water and drink it during the summer season. It is good for health, he said. Now I was embarrassed. Means now the writer was feeling you can say shy to take this from the Thandappa. How could I accept a gift? How could I accept a gift from these poor people? Now she knows the living condition of these people. So how can she accept a gift from them? They themselves did not seem to have enough to eat and drink. She is saying their living condition is so poor. They only don't have anything to eat and drink here, and they are offering gift to me. So how can I take it? So that's why the writer was really feeling shy to take a gift from Thandappa. Moreover, I had gone on a mission to give, not to take, and she really felt that she had mainly come to this village to give something. She had not come to take something in return of it. I thought it over and politely declined the gift. Means she, with this thought in her mind, she declined. She refused to take the gift from Thandappa. The Thandappa then said gravely, Amma, then we cannot accept your gift either. Means what this man said? Thandappa said that if you are not accepting a gift, we can also not accept your gift which you have bought for our children. Our ancestors have lived in this forest for generations and they have taught us their ways. When you want to give us something, we accept, but only when we can give something to you too. Unless you take our gift, we cannot take things you have brought for us. See, though they are not educated here, still what a good gesture they means they follow from their ancestor, that they say that though we are very poor, but we have learned something from our ancestor, that if someone is giving you something, we accept it, but in return we give you something. Until and unless we have something to give to you, we don't accept a gift from you, anyone here. I was shocked, embarrassed and humbled. When the writer heard this sentence from Thandappa, she was really shocked, she was really surprised, she was really embarrassed. See how you can say though they are really poor, their financial condition, their living condition is so poor, but still they are rich at their heart there. So that's why was really embarrassed and she was really humbled. She was, you can say, taken by their humility. Nothing in my experience had prepared me for this. Means she has not come across such situation. Means she had done so much work, she had given things to so many people, but now none of the person had said this sentence to her in her life. So she's saying, I was not really prepared to face this situation. She did not know how to face this situation. The usual pattern is for people to express gratitude when a charitable organization provides some assistance. Means here the usual pattern, whenever you do something as a charity work here, the person just say thanks for that person. The charitable organization just thanks you here. But here this person did not do the just you can say thank you, but he said that you have to accept something from us, then only we can accept your gift for our children. I have come across complaints too, and when we give, after that there are if some problem takes place in those gifts, there are people who complained also that whatever you have given is of poor quality or something like that also. Now when a group or organization has many problems and we help solve one of them, it is not usual for the recipients of our help to grumble about what has been left undone rather than show gratitude for what has been accomplished. There have ever been such cases where recipients have complained about the amount of help given to them. I have all taken this in inside my stride, finding fulfillment in giving and not in responses. Means she's saying in her lifetime she also has come across some people that if she has helped them, they grumble about whatever was left undone by the people by her, or they just grumble about the amount which she has given, that it is less, it is not, you can say, enough for them, or any other complaints here. So she is saying, I really feel very bad that someone is trying to help you and still you are trying to grumble. But still she is saying, I did not say anything, and I just had this thing in my mind that we should feel happy in giving. We should not listen to or keep in mind the responses of the people here. Such situation she had come across in her life, and the situation now which is she is facing in conversation with Thandappa is really you can say opposite of it. Here in the Sayadri forest was an old man, a tribal with no schooling, practicing a highly principled philosophy of life. Give when you take, do not take without giving. This was culture at its best. I smiled and gracefully accepted his gift. So she was really impressed by the Thandappa's gesture here. She really felt that this man, he is an old man, he is a tribal man, means he is not here, you can say, is civilized man, he is not well educated, but still he is practicing a you can say a good principle, a good philosophy of life. And that is what, when you give, you should also, when you take something from someone, you should also give them something in return as a good gesture to them. And here he wants to tell her that do not accept anything without giving. Here he wants to tell her, see this line, give when you take, means when you are accepting the gift, you should give something in return, and you should not take without giving. At least something, whatever is your, you can say, level here, whatever is your financial condition, according to that you should give something as a gift to them, as a good gesture in return to them. And he's saying this was the culture at its best. Really, the writer was impressed by this gesture of Thandappa. So she smiled and she gracefully accepted the gift of Thandappa. The Thandappa rose even further in my esteem when he remarked with a twinkle. And after the writer accepted the gift of Thandappa, he just said something to writer. And what is it? He said, there is grace in accepting also. And he's saying he was really grateful, or he was really thankful to the writer to give those gifts to children. So that's why he said there is a grace in accepting also, means it is really a good gesture when you accept. When someone is trying to give you something, we should accept with a smile, without any grumble or without any complaint. We should not try to find out any flaws in it. We should accept it gracefully. So it was really a nice principle which was followed by the tribal people there, which shows that how humble they are. So the writer, the Sudhamurti, she was really, you can say, impressed by this gesture of this tribe here, Thandappa tribe here. I hope you have understood the prose here. Go through the video lecture again, try to understand it more nicely and solve the questions given below the prose section here. Thank you.